Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to number two session with the amazing women specialists, experts in life-based evidence. Dr. Jean with my family, Dr. Joy with how to get along. Dr. Michael is an educational genius that's brought life-based information into the world. It's a privilege to have you amazing ladies on our second Duchess Initiative show. And I love the fact that we're talking about generational generations, how they live, how they function, how we merge them. So I would like each of you, as I ask questions, to answer from your perspective of education, the community, and family. Because what we want to do on this show, we want to give people what is real, what are real realities. Because when you give people perfect things off a script, and when they get in the game and the script doesn't work, they're 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 lost, and some people never recover. So, what are the realities of generational dialogue? Let me set up the equation. We have three generations in one. We have a new, a middle, and an older generation. All three of those generations have a different lens. This is what I remember one time I was chatting with the president of a country. I said, Mr. President, what is your most challenging thing as a president? He goes, I have to merge three generations into one. He goes, that's my challenge. So, ladies and gentlemen watching this, you are going to hear from the best voices of civility I know in the world. Dr. Joy, we will start with, I'll start with you. What do you think are what do you think is a misconception of like generational dialogue? What do you think is a misconception about generational dialogue?
My misconceptions for generational dialogue, my biggest thing that I've seen throughout my years is that the older generation, it's almost like you're speaking different languages. The older generation is using verbiage, they're having meaning, and they don't get that the generations that are younger than them aren't understanding. They get that frustration because they haven't either explained it or it really is like they're speaking two different languages. The younger generation, even within my own family, from my dad to myself to my children will sometimes have to explain what they mean to my dad, who is 88, because the verbiage has changed. And so there is that disconnect. And I think a lot of it's because of the meanings of words and and the unknown and thinking
Mm,
that each generation knows exactly what the other one means and they don't. And
mm.
it's not good, bad, or ugly. It's simply there's a lack of that understanding.
Wow. Thank you, Dr. Joy. Dr. Jean, would you address that? Misconceptions.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great way to identify that. Sorry. Great way to identify that. It is, in my opinion, I believe that it has a lot to do with the verbiage, as you referenced, because different generations use the same words, but they mean different things.
Mm,
And with a different meaning, we're not on an even ground. So how can we even move forward to understand the the story that comes behind the meaning, as well as some of the connotation that comes through the meanings of the verbiage that we're using. So great. Some of the words I know come to my mind. Obviously, we've used respect many times, but think about the words like freedom or justice and civil rights,
mm.
authority. All of those have been used in a way that we've taken with our story and added our own definitions. And today we need to be able to realize that each of us have our own definitions based on our stories that we've collected throughout our life, be young or old, and we need to stop, listen, and determine a way to communicate by using some of those words and getting those definitions to where they are aligned. Great
Man,
topic.
that's great. I love, no, no, that's great. I love this. I love this. Chancellor Michael P. Pitzel,
Yes.
can you address a misconception?
Well, and I think these two ladies have given amazing examples of a misconception is this doesn't come naturally. It takes work to be able to communicate well, even a little bit well, to have any kind of win. It takes work. You have to practice because it doesn't come naturally. What comes naturally are emotions. And when you're talking, those
Mm,
emotions hit, and the natural emotion is fight or flight. And that's not communication. That's not digging into, oh, they thought respect meant this. I think respect means that. That takes work. Like you have to be conscious of that. So I think a misconception is, I just want to be better at this, or this is hard. Well, okay, but it takes work to get better at it.
wow, this is very powerful. My next question is, what is the importance of what generation has created the narrative of what you're going to walk out? So say if you have a person at a young generation is the originator of the idea that's being talked about, someone in the middle generation that's created it, talk about it, and someone from the older generation that has created the actual narrative. So what do you think is the importance of that? Let's go with you, Dr. Joy.
I think that if, depending on which generation created the narrative, if that can be explained and not just assumed that we know what they're talking about, that will actually clear up a lot of those misconceptions. Um, if it's a younger generation, they're oftentimes more technical savvy, which is great,
Hmm.
but they won't be speaking the same language as, say, their grandparents or even sometimes their parents. And so explaining what their intent is and explaining their vision or their thinking of moving forward. And it goes the same for that middle generation as well as the older generation. Um, Oftentimes, the older generation assumes everyone's going to know it, and we don't. And so, explaining what the purpose is and what they want or what they're looking forward to will really help with that dialogue.
Very good, man. I think that's a very important question because the one that actually starts it narrates it, and this to me is an important element in what gets done and how it gets done. Dr. Jean, would you give some input on that?
I like how you've pointed out that the one that starts the narrative is the one that owns the narrative. We also need to have that trust behind that because your narrative, without the trust built before I hear your narrative, I'm probably going to come up against it because of what my narrative is
Mm,
in that trust. So I believe that trust is the foundation, and with that trust, it's built with the relationships. So the narrative, it is there because it's our lived experience. So we can't negate the youth with their narrative or the elders with their narrative because it is their life experience. And we're not here to change it, but we're here to determine a way that we can communicate. And that is requiring a structure of some sort, going back to that common ground of what do the words mean. One word, one meaning will bring us together for one piece around the world, in my thinking.
very good, Dr. Jean. Chancellor Michael Pitzel, the Promised Land is asking for your voice.
I'm so glad Dr. Jean brought up that common ground. I think we have to come back to, and this comes back to, we originally talk about we are the three pillars and the why, right? communication, listening, vocabulary, and why. Why are those important? Why are we even having this conversation? Who cares? I'm just going to live out my generation. But I think the why is so important. And we have to remember and have this viewpoint that each generation has something important for all of the generations, and looking for that value is key. And so when you if a generation initiates something, stepping away, again, the emotions and your first thoughts of why you disagree or the way they did it are going to pop up. But if you step away from that emotion for the next day and write and look at what value it brings, if each generation could step away from the table,
Mm.
get away from the emotion of it. You're going to have those emotions. That's normal. But step away from the emotion for a day or two and really go, okay, put all that aside. What's the value? What do they really have to give? What are they really trying to say here? I think if we could do that, if we could take a breath and do that, then we could see that each one has value, and that will bring a common ground. And that will bring about the why. Why are we doing this? Because it will better humanity. I will receive from the younger generation and the older generation, and they can receive something from me, and we can help one another.
Great. Beautiful question. Beautiful answer. Now, I love this. This stuff we're talking about is really good. Now, I'm going to give you, I'm going to ask a question. And please, I want each your input on this question. From the older generation, is their feedback normally fear-based for new ideas? Dr. Joy Beck, the Promised Land is asking for your voice.
That is a great question. And my experience, sorry, here we go. My experience is that, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry. My experience is it's fear-based. I look at my grandparents and my parents and just older generations, and that was how it was taught, was almost that blind obedience. Not especially in my world, but as far as like watching others,
Mm.
it was very do as I'm told without question, because they were the elders. And that worked, I guess, for a time, but that's not how it works anymore.
Wow. That's really good. That's really good. Dr. Jean, how important is the way you were taught as a person, as an individual, the way you were taught? What kind of impact does that have on a generation? The way you were taught.
That's a good question, the way I was taught. For myself, I was raised to where I pretty much got to do anything I wanted to, for the most part. So I didn't have the authoritarian figure so much when I was in my learning part of life. And that did well, but it still come to a problem where not knowing the words or understanding what people were meaning, being able to learn from our mistakes, being able to see others' mistakes and learn from them. So reflection in my learning is where I decided to follow what I felt within me that was the right decision. You see, a lot of times our communication isn't about so much about disagreeing with what is the good or the bad. It's more about how to do. And that's where some of the issues will begin. So we have to remember that each and every one of us were created for a problem to solve. So what problem are we for? And in my journey of education, I learned that it was about teaching others they needed to be educated for the tool, for what they need today, not necessarily educated through the education system, because there's a lot to learn from life itself that goes unspoken in the education systems that we have. organizations are just like people. They have brokenness within them, and they're looking for, I believe most of them are looking for a way to make a better way. So I believe that it still comes back to what we've learned. Our story is the education we have to make the best decision with today, what's before us to decide on. Thank you for that question.
Very good. Very
It's a
good.
tough
Chancellor
one.
Mike. No. It's good. I like this because this is just real stuff. Dr. Michael, what do you think? What does unity look like in this equation for the world today?
I think willingness. Willingness to make these steps, because it is hard. It is not fun. It is not pretty. It is ugly. And that's been my experience. It's hard. It's gut-wrenching. And speaking of my story, like Dr. Jean was saying, my story, my history is my history. That's where I come from, right? Well, Dr. Joy's history is her history. That's where she's going to come from. And what Dr. Jean just shared is a history that I don't have. And I just was open to a new, if I'm willing to stop, and listen to her story, I could learn something new. And it's a perspective I didn't have growing up. And it's a new thought for me. And we can gain if we are willing to sit down and put aside our own emotions. Our history is our history. It's not a bad thing, but sit with it and listen to someone else's history, because we are capable of growth. We are capable of learning new things and making new pathways in our brain. Our history doesn't have to hold us hostage if it was hard, right? There were good things in history too to hold on to. And so I think that's really important, that willingness, that would bring unity. If we're willing to push through the hard times and not run away from the table when it gets ugly.
Boy, that's no, that to me, this is why I wanted to talk about this topic. And so how do perspectives matter, Dr. Joy? Perspectives, how do they matter in this?
What I've found with perspectives is that, as the other lady said, we all have them. They're different, they vary. But if we can be willing, as Dr. Pitzel said, to look at other people's stories and to hear what they're saying and to be open, or as I call it, not to be allergic to what they're trying to tell us, and be open to learn or even see the possibilities of what you can learn. Sometimes it's learning what not to do. Sometimes it's learning. You might not get the whole thing and agree with everything that someone's sharing, but if you can find those little gems of how you can apply what they're saying to your life to make your life better, then isn't perspective of others, couldn't that be of value?
Very good. I like that. There's been a comment that I've heard all three of you say: willing. You have to be willing. How? What does willing look like? And how do you become willing? Dr. Jean, we'll start with you.
For myself, I learned for me to become willing, I had to first identify who I am myself and what is my foundation standing on. What am I rooted in before I could even start to try to tell someone else really what they were to be doing and how it would look. One of the ways to convey it would be to create a visual so someone can see, so that the communication can be visual, because a lot of times we talk abstract thinking and that person doesn't understand what we're saying. Again, it's a breakdown of the vocabulary and understanding of the words, and the words that are created, they're created from our own history. So this is where, again, coming back to that common ground, using that common language across the cultures in that way to promote one another in the group or in the family, in the world.
This is very good. Chancellor Michael, that
Yeah.
same question.
Yes. You have to know what your I cares are. I call them your I cares. What do you really care? What do you really hold on to? And that will help you create boundaries. Boundaries are huge in this willingness because it is hard, because it is gut wrenching. You have that willingness comes from value and that trust. And so you have to really look at the situation, and go, do I value that person enough to go through this with them? And I've been
Hmm.
through those scenarios before. And I've had to put up hard boundaries in my life with other people um, to see if they valued my relationship with me. And
Hmm.
I had to be willing to stick to that to really see and that's hard. And so I think you do have to know who you are, know what your I cares are, and have boundaries. You are not to be trampled on in this. This is not
Mhm.
about you getting trampled on. You do need to set boundaries because boundaries don't just help you, they help others. Your boundaries help others, teach them how to treat you. And so that's really important. And I think
Hmm.
willingness comes down to really sit down and say, what do I care? How do I preserve myself in this? But also, I'm going to have to change in this and really set those boundaries. And then you have to communicate those boundaries. And communication isn't just with words, it's with actions. I always have an escape route wherever I go. I've learned that. Make sure I have an out. So if it gets really bad, they know I'm going to leave. And they know that. And if they want a relationship with me and they want me to stick around, they won't go and they won't do these things. And that again is part of that work that I talked about earlier. If you really care, if you're really willing, these are love relationships. If you really care about that person or really care about the mission that you're on or whatever it be, whatever passion is put in your soul, you will do this work. Because if you do, and I'm a testimony of it, you will have good fruit and you will move forward in that passion with those people and maybe not with those people. It really will tell you what you're passionate about. I could go on, but
No, no, this is great. Next question. Okay. And this is when unity looks different in problem solving. When unity looks different, how do you get to the bottom line when unity looks different?
can I just piggyback because it goes
Yeah,
right with
go
what you're saying?
ahead. Yes.
In one of these scenarios, um, at the very end of it all, we came to a common ground. And it was when we both looked at each other and said, let's agree to disagree. And that
Mm,
was our common ground. And
mm,
it's so weird. And it was hard. But we have that now. We agreed to
to
disagree.
disagree.
We don't
Wow.
agree on
Wow.
everything, but we love each other enough to sit in the same room and know that we don't agree with each other. And it's peaceful.
Man, what I see in this conversation, this is just grassroots. So many people, I think we put up barriers because of emotional traumas and things of our past,
Yeah.
that if someone questions what we've been through, then that defensiveness comes. You don't tell what to do. I know this, blah, 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 blah. So I think, what do you think, and anyone can answer this, what do you think it takes, because we are trying to help people to learn how to communicate cross generations, cross culture, all this stuff. What do you think it just takes? If you have to say, what is a characteristic that a person needs to have in order to be effective at those tables of dialogue? Let's start with you, Dr. Joy.
A characteristic, one of that would be beneficial is that openness.
Okay.
It goes back to, and I don't know if that's a characteristic, but it's going to be now. Um, the willingness to hear for the sake of understanding instead of just listening to speak next. When
Hmm.
when we're in situations and we have those differences like you had addressed just a minute ago, that agreeing to disagree and being willing to go, yep, we're not going to be on the same ground, and that's okay. We can still have that respect for other people if we have that willingness to try to understand someone, not agree, not like take it all on, but just to try to understand their side of the story.
Mm.
And in that, it helps each of us feel heard and valued.
Very, very good. Dr. Jean, characteristic.
Characteristics, first off, would be patience, long suffering, being willing to sit and listen sometimes to things that we disagree about. Because a lot of times the older generations, they anchor their beliefs in tradition or their lived history and long-held structures that they've been under. Whereas the younger generations, they often identify themselves or anchor their beliefs in their lived experiences as well, but in the immediacy right now, not what happened before. They want to know right now. So being able to listen to their what their realities are that are going on within them, because when identity begins to feel threatened, we change the tone of our voice and we stop to listen. I mean, we stop listening as soon as we feel threatened of our own identity. And within that, this is the place where we have to just step back and realize that what someone is saying is also their truth, and it's not about our identity. We are there to listen to them and learn something new from them, from their perspective. So when that tone changes back to where I know you're listening to me, then I know that I'm going to speak more. My voice will lower and I will feel more safe to be able to share things with you. So that characteristic is patience, long suffering, and being willing to listen without responding immediately.
Wow. Dr. Michael, I'm going to ask you this question, please. Now I want to, how do you deal with things when you disagree? Now watch this here. How do you, ladies and gentlemen, this is great stuff. We are talking to Chancellor Professor Michael P. Pizzo, the master. How do you deal with things when you disagree? I believe there's a couple of things I'll share after, but help if a person's out there watching this, what advice would you give them on how to deal with things that they may disagree with in conversations with generations?
Do you want the polished answer or the reality answer?
Give me
Oh,
street
so
101.
good. You have to be willing to walk away from the situation and give it some time. I always think I had to have the answer right then. And that's where you can get in trouble because again, your initial instinct is that emotion, that fight or flight. You don't want to answer when you're in that place. That will just upset things even more. And so being able to sit and smile and nod, or just nod if you can't smile at the moment, and just keep your mouth shut, let them finish, and walk away and go and get the emotion out. I mean, this is practical. Get the emotion out. And like I said before, I'm going to come back to it. Find the value in what they were saying, get rid of all the other stuff, and then come back to the table without that emotion, and it'll still be there a little bit, but you got to have this practice. This takes practice. Again, this takes work. It takes work to be a good listener because, and both ladies said that first characteristic that you spoke about, my first thought was being a listener, which is for me in my life is one of the hardest things for me to do is be a good listener. And there's so many different levels of listening. You're listening to what's going on in your self-talk. You're trying to listen to what they're saying. You're trying to listen to the spirit of what's going on. And you got to be good at all those things. That takes practice. But I'd say you walk away in that moment, get away from the emotion of it and process. You got to have time to process before you come back to the table. That's a
Very good.
holistic thing.
No, that's fantastic. Dr. Joy, that same question.
So I wanted to add on to that. One of the things, And if you're in that conflict, and that'll happen. We're human, right? It's okay to say, you know what? I need to think about that and then walk away instead of, for me, oftentimes I'm like, I said, I'm like, I hear you. I hear what you're saying because to validate what they're saying and say, you know what, I'm going to have to think about that. Um, I'm going to ask for you to give me some grace and I'll get back to you. And that validates that you've heard them, but then that you need to process it. I agree completely with Dr. Pitzel of it's best not to say things in the moment because you can't take those words back.
Yeah.
Man, that's great. That's great, Dr. Jean, give me your feedback.
I'm gonna tag right along with what Dr. Joyce said. We could damage one person with something we say, and literally it could damage an entire generation. Because today the things we say digitally are shared so much faster, and it's shared without any mentorship or without any foundation behind it. And they will take it for what they know. They're adding their story in. So it definitely does require that we take a step back and think about their part in the whole scheme of all of it. They have a part as well. And learning to agree to disagree is a good thing, I believe.
Boy, that's great, because what I love about our show right now is these are real things. So many times people say, "Oh yeah, I just listen, I do this," and people are asking, "How? What do I do?" People don't know what they don't know. So many times when you're having generational conversations, the old generation doesn't know. So when you go, yeah, 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 they know that you don't know. So that's disingenuous when you think you know what 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 conversations have, and that is where I've seen generational conversations just go astray. No, Pipe, you had no idea what I'm talking about. I'm like, yeah, 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 and then I would explain it, and they would say, no, no, and what they just show me is and here's a this is just many times when we believe we have enough information, we draw our conclusions when we haven't heard all their information. And when I was talking about the information puts people in formation. So if I'm giving you information, or if I hear something that fits a formation of my thought pattern, now I go, yeah, I got the answer. No, I got it for me, but maybe not them. So this is where I see a huge part of this divide. It takes place because we have enough information for us, and at times we haven't listened to them all the way through. So now, and I'm not sure if you guys are like me. When I get enough information, I just shut down and can't wait to talk. Is that a gift that I have only, or am I with a good crowd of people?
Any leader has that gift.
We're not
So
the only one.
So watch this here. So now, let's get to your expertise. How do we train the next generation, the kids? How do we teach them to be better listeners, to have a different level of respect? And what I've seen is this: I've seen in my life, every generation, things become more diverse and more easily understood. And I believe it's because the walls have come down, and now all kids are playing, are living, working together. So it's more of a unified family. So what would you say is a key element if we could change this in one generation with the kids today? If we taught them the right things, how could we change this in one generation to where like dialogue is good? I'll start with you, Professor Chancellor Michael P. Pitzel.
I have a hard time with this one because I feel like kids are the easiest ones to teach about this.
Mm.
It's the middle and the older that are the hardest ones. Um, Kids just need repetition and consistency with vocabulary instruction. What do these words mean? What does it look like? What does it sound like? Um, and they have to be listened to. They have to be heard because they want to know why. And we got to make sure we share the why this is important that we're spending time doing this. And so once you set up those foundations in education with children, if they know you care, because they know if you're being genuine or not, more than any people on the planet, children. If you care, if you have a structure and you're consistent, you listen to them and you tell them why we're doing this, they will eat out of your hand. And I know I'm doing a framework here, not a how to, but if you set those up, you can ask a kid to do anything and they'll do it and they'll learn from it and they'll be better for it. Like I said, it's the adults where I feel like it's more of a struggle. Am I answering your question enough? It's very
Yeah, yes, yeah. It's good
okay.
because what I'm getting at is all 90% of media is targeted for young people.
Yep.
90%. Why? Because they want to mold their minds.
Yep.
They want to. How many commercials do you see for old people, except for Depends and X-Lax commercials? Those are what you see. So with the marketing geared for kids, they must know that there's something to get it into somebody young. So this is why, Dr. Joy, would you answer that question, please?
I agree with Dr. Pitzel in that kids are oftentimes easier, especially the younger kids, right? They're more open to learning. And I really believe, I've said it for years, that the rest of us are just big-bodied kids, right? And depending on where we stopped in our emotional growing, we could be all 8-year-olds or 9-year-olds, give or take. I think that one of the ways to help young people is to help them understand how to communicate. And one of the key things that I taught in my classes, so if 5-year-olds can learn it, the rest of us can if we're willing, is that active listening, being able, and I'm not always the best. I'm an interrupter at times, but that letting someone get their thoughts out before you interrupt. And trust me, my own children are like, let me finish. But listening till they're done and listening to understand and helping them to know that it's okay to have different opinions. It doesn't make one right or one wrong. That we can have different ideas, different perspectives, and still be okay.
That's so good because that's not taught. I'm writing a book on how to disagree well because I think that's not taught. So people don't know what they don't know. Dr. Jean. Yeah, Dr. Jean.
Thank you. That is a question that probably resonates with many people around the world. How can we come to this common language? I believe that some of it has to be disciplined listening. And what does discipline mean? It means that we have to discipline ourselves to practice the steps to listen, as we've identified several throughout this program here. And once we have that common language, that one of the ways to create would be with the relationships, the disciplined listening along with the language, and that would, I believe, would restore some of the honor across the generations if we can see that at all ages we can listen, not just the little ones, because even holding a baby in our arms, if we're talking to them and we're using our body language, even that baby will stop and listen. So it's restoring our languages to common language, disciplined listening, so that we can restore honor to the family. Because if we restore honor to the family, it will flow out into our groups that we're in, the places that we visit, wherever our feet may carry
It's really
us,
good.
it will carry us across the world. Thank you.
This is very good. Now, I love this. How important is body language in generational communication? Chancellor Professor Michael Pitzel.
It's huge. Like
The
you
promised
said,
land's calling. Go on.
people are intuitive. They know if you're being genuine or not. Like I said, kids are really good at it too. But body language is huge. I would say it's more powerful than words. Um,
Mm,
and honestly, more powerful than words because I can say the nicest things out of my mouth and not mean it in my heart, and my body will show that. My face will show that. My distance from you will show that. My volume will show that, And so I think it plays a huge role.
mm.
And kind of going back to the other thing, another thing that I think the younger generation needs to see is sit down with them when you make a mistake and say I was wrong. I apologize and just flat out. And then there's other times you stick to it because you didn't do anything wrong. They might not have liked it, but that was it. But if you did something wrong, to apologize, to sit down and really and apologize as an adult to a child is very powerful, very, very powerful.
Very good, Michael. Thank you. Thank you. Joy, the body language question. How important is body language?
It is vital. I agree with Dr. Pitzel that it actually is the front runner to your word. How
Hmm.
you carry yourself. Wow, I'm a huge body mover. And so even within this, I can't hold still sometimes, right? And I use my hands. But it is something that you you can see with your face. You can see with your body. And if it's closed off, if you have someone who's folding their arms or their face is, I call them grouchy eyebrows. Uh, just there's lots of things that will show your words and your actions, your body language don't match.
Hmm. Hmm.
And if you're saying something out your mouth and yet you're doing this and you're backing away and you're not engaged, it doesn't match. And most humans can tell.
Wow. Very good. There was a song back in my day. It was "They Talk to Me with Their Body," and it's that to me is very true. Your body language matters. Dr. Jean, would you please chime into that question?
Absolutely. I get to work with a lot of youth. And one of the first things that I will do is bring out my phone and I will ask them a question. And as soon as they start to answer my question, I'll be like this. Oh, I'm
Oh,
sorry, what? And so I give them
D
a
Rivers.
demonstration and I say, listen, if you want me to listen to you as you want me to listen,
That's
as
very
I
good.
would like you to listen, let's put these down right over here on the corner of your desk. And let's start with our conversation face to face instead of into our
Man.
devices. So I believe that we have to model it to teach them so that they can discipline themselves to put the phone down. It's a very valuable tool, but it's one of the things today that's getting in the way of many of our body languages as well, because even just like this, the body language that I would give you with this may not even reflect what's going on here. It may be what's going on
I
here.
apologize now. Everyone watching, I apologize now.
Well,
Man.
adults are just as bad
Oh,
with
yes.
it's. I mean, and I love that you brought up modeling. I mean, if we want kids to do something, we better be doing it. And I mean, I look up, I see everybody in the family's on the phone. All in the same room, not talking, all on their own devices. So it's like I know, I get it. I have had a kid go up to a parent and be like, "Wait, you said I don't get screen time, so why do you get screen time at this time?" And I think that's just brilliant. That's a good question to ask ourselves as adults.
Wow.
We're modeling for kids.
So this has been a very fruitful conversation. I love it because these are realities. these are, and I believe in this show, they got knowledge steps too. Everything came out in this because it's important for people to understand, what are the realities of when you communicate generationally. In my opinion, it can't be my way. It has to be an objective that we agree upon or disagree on, but we come to the next step forward. What I've seen in this work is this people's ego gets, when your ego gets bruised, the conversation changes. Now it's about winning the argument, not about the best outcome. And I think if we're going to have generational dialogue, we have to understand it's not about getting your way. It is not about, it's about what is the way. So I'm going to ask each one of you your final question. What's the key? What's the key to make our next generation better? Dr. Joy Beck, we'll start with you.
The key to helping the next generation become better is to help them see their value and their worth as a human. I think all generations, I think at times we lose that, or we can, not all, but we can. But if we can help them see their worth, because our perspective of what their greatness is might not be what's in their head, but to help them see their worth gives them those stepping stones to move forward.
That's great, great, great. Chancellor Michael.
I have to say, I want to piggyback on what Dr. Joy said, help them see their value. And one powerful way we can do that is to find our value. Because if we see us valuing ourselves and holding ourselves in such a way where we value ourselves and we're out there and we're being productive and we have good fruit, we have good evidence and results in our own lives, then they might want to hear from us. If we don't, they might not want to hear from us. And I think that's huge is make sure you are coming from a place of knowing who you are and you value yourself. And then you can pour into them what's valuable about them.
Wow. Dr. Jean. It's great, Dr. Michael.
Thank you. I believe that our task is not necessarily about eliminating differences. It is about accepting differences with honor and knowing that every idea has a place and it has a reason. And ideas, they are the value that we carry with us, our ideas. So we can't kill their ideas. We have to listen to them and understand that that is who they are. And again, that at the end, it's coming together with a common ground, with language, listening disciplined, and honor to each and every individual that there is in the world.
Wow. Jean, that's great. Man, I loved this topic today that came off the cuff. Man, this here is the realities. And the reason why we did our show a little different today is because I wanted everything right off the cuff. Just boom, boom, boom. Let's talk. Because in life, you can be in a critical conversation in 1 second. It can change. And actually learning how to listen. And the one thing Dr. Joy said in her new book coming out, Sandbox Civility, these skills are teachable. This stuff can be taught. This is not inherent. It can be taught. So that gives me hope for every generation in the world. Now, we need the right lens crafters to create what we want to see. And I'm telling you, thank you, ladies. This was a great, great session. Practical wisdom, insight, just real. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, God bless you. Thank you for being a part of this amazing show. Thank you.
Thank you.